we want to extend our sincere gratitude to the MCC and the United States of America by extension for facilitating a project to improve economic development for respective nations, especially countries, low-income countries, and low and middle-income countries. As a parliament, we must note that over 200 countries across the world face these examinations. And for Sierra Leone to benefit from these stringent measures or stringent hurdles to get to this point is one we should thank ourselves as a nation to bring to this point. But today we should note that we are not going to be a parliament that is not grateful. And today we should note that we are not going to be a nation that is not grateful. As a country, we graduated steadily to this point. And graduations are made for a purpose. And graduations are celebrated for a purpose. We must not forget that in 2012, when the threshold was met by the previous government of the All People's Congress, that is when the students went to school. That is when the process of graduation started. And as we are here today celebrating, we must note that in that year and in 2015 subsequently, Sierra Leone met 12 out of 20 indicators to be placed in this MCC compact, in which Sierra Leone was given an MCA account, which is a Mellenium Challenge account. We must remember that we've come a long way. And when that started, constraints were analyzed, and our constraints were we need to address our water sector and we need to address our energy sector. So year after year, as a nation, we as a people have worked diligently to ensure that we are here today to discuss this bill. We as members of parliament should be grateful that we are here in this well to go through this document, which, by the way, is very, very instructive and very, very deliberate. We must also recall and remember that we are not the first nation that have benefited from it. So it is a structured program. Yes, indeed, as a parliament, we will have to oversee what government do. But the MCC has structured their program in such a manner that even when parliament does not show, or if parliament does not show, the compact will regulate itself. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, I'm saying this because when I went through the document, and as I'm looking, we were given two documents. One was a program implementation of the agreement, and the second document was a Millennium Challenge Compact between, which is a signed agreement. When implementation of the document of this compact agreement, Mr. Speaker, we must note that the compact states that the government has to do certain things to meet the requirement. And what I like so much about this document is the fact that in Article 1, the government, the compact states that the disposal of program assets consisting of real property should be done in a manner that is monitored. For far too long in this country, we see vehicles that have been given for a specific purpose are converted to personal properties. And as we note, from the time of entry into the program, which is now, from the date the letter was exchanged between the government of the United States and the government of Sierra Leone, we have entered in force into the program. So of course, as my colleague Honorable from Makeni or Bombali was stating that implementations were underway, we see why they were underway, because the letters have already been exchanged, and that is envisaged in section 7.3 of the second document. The program closure also talks about why it is important that within that 5-year period, all vehicles, all property owned by MCA and by extension the MCC should be branded as such, and that the using of those property should be strictly used for this purpose. We're here today because I'm sure the facilitation funds have to be put into force.
Honorable, 1 more minute.
We're here today because the $42 million have to be utilized. But as we're here today, we should recall that several statements have been made by various personalities outside the walls of this country, and in particular, the ambassador of the United States to Sierra Leone. And as he ties this compact to the tripartite implementation, we as a country should ensure that we follow it to the letter. The property of this MCC belongs to the people of Sierra Leone, and we as an opposition will not be controversial or will not be in contention of it. So if it's so, we in the opposition will ensure and should ensure that everything that is said that is not in this document as it pertains to elections and electoral laws should be followed, and we should ensure that we monitor it to know. And an MP was saying, we are not against election reforms. We are not